This is The Backyard Show. I'm Caleb, and my co-host is James. And this week, we sit down with Nick and Loren of the band Chives via Zoom. We'll discuss how they mix and master their songs, the inspiration behind their songs, and who they want to have a jam sesh with. You can listen to Chives wherever you stream music. And now, let's get into the show. Welcome to the Backyard Show, Indoor Edition. We've got Chives. Can you introduce who you are, what your roles are, and who's missing from the episode today?
Yeah, so I'm Nick, or Chives. You can call me either. I write the songs and play guitar and sing in Chives.
My name is Loren. I play bass and I play guitar sometimes, and I'm in charge of production and recording mostly.
And we're missing two key members, Paul Sultanakis. He plays keys in the band, keys and synth, and Joey's on drums. They both couldn't make it tonight, but yeah, they're in the band too.
They're here in spirit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So are you doing the most of the songwriting, Nick?
Yeah. So for the first album and then the singles have been me from songwriting perspective. Then I go to the band with them. But actually, Loren and I just had our first kind of like official writing session, which was very fun and exciting. So I think we're going to experiment like kind of like partnering, which is kind of cool. So I'm excited for that for future songs too.
For the past songs, how far into the writing process do you introduce the song to the rest of the band?
Usually it's like I gather like a collection of songs. So at least, for the album, it was like at least I had like 7 songs that I had to before I went to the band with them. And we were playing live regularly before we like recorded anything. So it was just like demos at that point, and like the demos were like just what we played off of for the live show or for practicing for the live show. Usually it's like not much. Usually it's just like I'm inspired. I write something usually without recording it, so I just like have it like in my head, and then I get to a point where like, okay, this is cool. Let me just put this on my phone so I don't forget it. And then I get to a point where like, okay, let me just put it on GarageBand because that's what I work out of. I'm not very good with any of that. I have Loren for that. So I get it to that point. It's really rough, like really, really rough. It's just like usually just guitar, vocals, and like a drum beat. And then I go to the other guys, and then they add all their flavor into it. So it starts out pretty early on in the process. Maybe I'll add like some like backing guitars or like ideas, but it's never like what the final thing's going to be. So they definitely add their flavor behind it. How
long do you let the song live in your head before you like record it onto, I don't know, your phone or whatever? Yeah, it probably changes like song by song, but yeah, some are like, okay, this is a good song. Let me just record this right away. But others is just more like it's an idea. And then it remains an idea for weeks, months, whatever it might be. Like I'll play the same chord or melody over and over, and I have the vocal melody in my head. I don't have anything exactly for it. I'm just kind of excited about it, but don't do anything with it. But then like one day, usually like out of boredom, I'm like, okay, I'm ready to like kind of write a song, or I want to do this. I really have to like get myself in the right headspace to get myself to like the recording or at least the demoing process. So yeah, it's a song by song basis, but there's some obviously that are like, oh, I have an idea, I'm working on it, and I record that demo that same day. But for the most part, it's like a simple idea that kind of that lives in my head for a few months, and then I get around to recording it. How often are you writing? Lately, not too much. At least last year. Last year was like brutal. I know people were like had all the intentions of getting everything out and doing a whole bunch of stuff, but for me it was like personally like just a tough year, and aside from the pandemic, just like crazy family stuff. So it's just like, okay, writing's on the backseat. But now I'm finally getting to a point like, okay, this is like there's things that I do want to write. I'm super excited about writing again. We're playing like
before COVID hit, we were playing like regularly, like a lot. So like we were playing live so much that like even writing was kind of like on the back burner too. We're just kind of playing the songs that we had. But it's usually once I get into a groove, I can't stop. So I'm kind of feeling that right now. Right now, I'm like really into writing, or at least like trying to, and just like working through different songs. But yeah, short answer is like 2020, not much, but I think we're getting back on the train. I think now.
Now that you're like kind of in that routine, are you kind of setting aside time to write songs, or is it just like whenever inspiration hits, you just go to write a song?
Yeah, definitely more just when inspiration hits. Um, Sometimes like I pick up the guitar like multiple times during the day. So like I have like usually have like 2 or 3 songs that I'm excited about, or songs is probably like not what you would call it, but 2 or 3 things I keep playing on the guitar like throughout the day. But usually if there comes a moment, I'm not sure what it is, but there comes a moment where I'm like, okay, now like let's write it. So I'm always picking it up. So I guess I could be writing like every day, but it's not like serious in my head. But then I finally do get to a point like, okay, this can be something real. So then I kind of like, okay, I'm gonna get into a writing session with myself. But yeah, and like I said, me and Loren have kind of last week we experimented for the first time. Like I had a really old demo. He heard it. He's like, hey, this is cool. Like it's cool. It's an idea. It's nowhere near what it should be at the end. It's like way too simple, but let's like work it out. So we had our first like this was like first I've had like a real writing session. So we spent like 4 hours just like hammering through one song, which is really cool. It like I never worked with someone, so it just like it's cool to try to bring my songs to push even like further than what they currently are.
How do you know when it's ready to at least record the little demoed out version or something? Like at what moment does it flip from okay, this is a cool idea to I'm recording this?
Um, yeah, like for me, it's usually like when I'm out of. For me, it's like okay, I'm out. I'm comfortable with where it currently is, so I have nothing else to add. I think is where I'm at. So it's usually like I'm ready to record it to like an official demo when I'm at the point where like okay, I've done all that I could do. Um, and let's bring in like reinforcements, right? Let's bring in Paul, Joey, and Loren. So it's usually like, okay, I'm excited about this. I'm gonna listen to it on my headphones, maybe if like 2 days before I send it to them to be like, okay, this is this what I want? Do I want to add anything else before it goes to them? But yeah, usually it's just like once I feel like I've done all that I could with it and they're ready to come into it, then at that point it's ready for demo time.
Even on some of the demos we do, we get his demo and we re-demo it, with a little bit more fleshed out of let's change X, Y, and Z, sit on that for a while, and then it goes into another phase.
Do you ever use the demo tracks in the final productions?
On
I don't think so.
on Think Too Much, the drum track is from the demo. It's a drum machine. So the original drum machine is in there.
What drum machine is that?
It's just I think it was just like a loop. It was a loop from GarageBand. That's how I operate. But I think like it's a sample from like an 808.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's what it's replicating, but definitely wasn't an 808.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was just like, that's how I write. It's like, okay, I don't know how to play drums or anything. So I just find something that's cool that I just kind of loop to that works. So that's usually it doesn't, I think all the other songs, I don't think anything from the demo has made it to a final recording, but that one I think is the first time. We usually re-record everything.
On the first EP that's on Bandcamp, it's not on Spotify. A lot of things from Blue. Is Blue on the first EP? A lot of that was from the demo, and we built on top of that. So there are some exceptions, but usually now we're getting so good at writing together or improving a song that we usually re-demo from his original demo for the new stuff lately.
And then you mix and master the songs too. What's are you doing that all in the box, or where is that done?
Yeah, all in the box. We work through Pro Tools, and so the last records were all recorded through a Soundcraft. I think that's what I have. I have a Soundcraft interface, into Pro Tools, and then usually bounce that down into a mastering session, and then master it in there. It's not as like in-depth mastering as getting a mastering engineer somewhere else, but it gets it Spotify levels, so it's competitive to listen to. And I've been doing it for a while now, that I kind of have a gist of which frequencies should be where, enough that it's listenable and enjoyable for the average consumer.
Can I ask what the secret sauces were you using for mastering?
For mastering, it's changed over the years. I think for some, like the first EP, I was probably using Ozone and just keeping it all in the Ozone plugin. But as time went on, I figured out how to make things sound bigger and louder by using my own like chain. And usually it's just some saturation, a little bit of EQ, and then the API 2500 compressor is basically on every master that Chives has released. That's like the go-to compressor.
Then Nick, are you with him while he's mastering, or how much is it like back and forth file sharing?
Mostly back and forth file sharing, I'd say. Right? Yeah. It's usually we always get like a rough mix like the day of whenever we add a part. So Lauren's really good about that. So I have something to listen to on the drive home, and then in my headphones for like the next following days. But then at that point, like it's kind of in Lauren's hands. I pretend to know what I'm talking about, but I really just trust him and Paul and Joey at that point. I feel like they're have better ears for that stuff than I do. So I really take their lead on that one. But yeah, it's mostly Loren taking a stab at it, and I usually really like it.
We try to focus on inspiration a lot, and like build playlists of songs that we're inspired to for this song, so we know what we want it to sound like by the time we get it. And we try to use the saying, garbage in, garbage out. As long as it sounds good to begin with, we know it'll sound good later, and we don't want to change it in the mixing process. We want to mix what we have instead of change something to be mixed better.
What was on the playlist for Think Too Much?
I think lots of Pine Grove. We're like pretty big fans of Pine Grove. I think there's some Big Thief. I think Loren had a Coin song, was a big one. We also like touched back into a like OG emo back to me like in like 2006, 2007. So like bands like The Format, I think was like a big one for us. Like that's a deep cut. Yeah. Trying to think of some other ones. Maybe they weren't on this playlist, but like bands, like emo bands that I think that inspired me a lot during that time were like a band called The Honorary Title, which is a really cool like emo band I liked back then. Yeah, I think those are like the big ones. I think Pine Grove is probably like at least for this latest song, like that was probably like the gold standard of what we were trying to kind of go for. So that was kind of there.
Yeah. It's in Birthday Party.
Oh yeah,
1975. That's a very high fidelity, really put together, but still has a laid back vibe. I draw a lot of inspiration from that song with a lot of the Chives stuff.
Yeah, that was a little tidbit. That was like my number one song from Spotify this past year. So it was obviously a big inspiration too. So yeah, the mix on that is like epic. I love those drums on that one. I don't think the drums maybe are too much like that in like our song, but just know that it was like that song was playing in my head a lot when we were writing that one for sure.
What music did you listen to growing up? Because you mentioned the emo stuff a little bit. What kind of music did both of y'all listen to early on? What was playing in your house too?
Yeah, for me, early on, obviously what my parents were listening to. So my parents are both huge fans of like Jackson Brown. So a lot of like singer songwriter, like that LA singer songwriter vibes, like Jackson Brown. My dad loves like America, the brand, not like the country. He loves the country too, but for what it is. Yeah, like that's kind of like from my parents' perspective, like James Taylor, Fleetwood Mac, obviously, stuff like that. And then like music discovery, I'm the youngest of of three. So like whatever my brother and sister listen to, I listen to. So that's kind of like where the emo comes in. my brother showed me stuff like Dashboard. So he was like really on to like the emo, like at Dashboard Confessional. And my sister kind of was like second tier emo, and that was like the format, and like Honorary Title and the bands I mentioned before. And then like I kind of had my own music discovery and was kind of I got a little more pop punk emo. That doesn't really show up in the inspirations too much. I think I hark back more to like what my sister and my brother showed in those bands. What about you, Loren?
Well, growing up, it was a lot of KRS 101 and, like Coast driving in the car. So I don't know if there's a lot of inspiration from there. I love oldies and like Motown. I still listen to a lot of Motown now. But inspiration, I've just been going through, a glimpse back in time recently and trying to listen to bands that I would listen to in high school to see, if I still connect. Like I was listening to Fall of Troy the other day and like Paul and I really liked Coheed and Cambria when we were in high school. So it's like lots of that doesn't really show up in our music now. But I've enjoyed a lot of different types of music.
Yeah, still, I think another one is, it's obvious me and Loren center all the time, but like Phoebe Bridgers is another one. I think Scott Street is like our ideal song too. So at least from like the drumming we always talk about the drums on that track too. And obviously like the build, I like to build songs a lot too. So she does that a lot too. So she's another big one.
Yeah, like looking at like my top song or most recent like songs on Spotify is like Van Halen, and then it goes over to Hoku, Perfect Day, like when you're watching a 90s movie and it's always like the perfect day. Oh, yeah. So that's like been in the thing. And then like Cat Power, Chaperone, Muse.
Did you say?
I don't know.
Oh, Muzz and Muse. Okay. I thought you mispronounced.
No, just Muzz.
I thought you mispronounced Muse.
No, it's Muzz. It's not. I haven't been listening to Muse. That was like 8th grade, Loren. Still valid though.
Yeah, I think it's worth saying though. This probably should be mentioned. Is like the other 3 members of the band, so Loren, Joey, and Paul. Their like music history goes back to high school. I kind of joined late, so they've been playing music and going to shows together since, I don't know what year is that, probably like 2009, Loren.
Yeah, 2008, 2009.
Yeah, 2008, 2009. They're kind of like, they obviously have their own, they kind of like went separate ways in what everyone likes, but I think they have like that high school music friendship is like really hard to find. I didn't find anyone in high school that like really had the same thing as me. So I'm always like jealous of them having that like that nostalgic of like, hey, we love like, you guys love Cold War Kids and just having those bands. Right. I think it's like really cool. So like even when we're having like jams or like a practice or something, like they can make references to songs and they'll know what to do. Like, so usually like in practice, Loren might be like dictating to Paul, like, hey, make it sound more like this. And Paul will get it more so than me trying to say, hey, make it sound like this. And he won't understand as much. So just again, going back to the references, those 3 have pretty tight musical backgrounds together.
So we've got a segment called Dream Gear, where basically just give us, since there's only 2 of you, we'll do 3 pieces of dream gear. Just whatever y'all have been dreaming about. Let's cue the dream gear music though.
Dream gear. It's time for dream gear.
I was hoping you'd ask because Loren probably has some really cool dream gear. I'm pretty like straightforward. For me, I think OP1 is probably like my biggest thing. I've been just eyeing that ever since we listened to Tape Notes, actually, on the 1975. They like talk about the OP1. I'm like, okay, I want that. Second, Loren and I were texting actually this weekend about, I'm looking into a Strat, not sure which one, but I've just decided on a Strat of some sort would be a good guitar. Right now I just have a Jazzmaster and just want a little bit more versatility. So some sort of Strat. And you said 3, right?
3, yeah.
I don't know.
Look at this. Yeah, this minimalist over here.
Selfishly, I just like want like, it's not really gear, but I want like a bus. So then we can drive around and then I can have a bus for myself to go camping in. But also it could be for the band too. That's gear,
That
right?
counts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Here comes Lawrence. This is going to be wild.
Dream gear. That's kind of the goal. I've been trying to get dream gear. I did actually buy a piece of dream gear. I got a Tama bell brass snare recently that I've been searching for my entire life. Found it randomly on eBay that was misspelled. So that's probably the only reason I won the bid before someone bought it before me. So that's sick. That's a snare that's super popular in the 90s on all of the Nirvana and like Dave Grohl, like Foo Fighters early stuff. He uses that snare drum. So it's super rock and super heavy sounding. Dream gear. Maybe like probably like a 60s P bass would be cool. I have a 60s reissue P bass that we play on the record, so it's kind of does the thing, but it's not the real thing. That would be great to have a 60s P bass. And then probably like an SSL console. Those are super cool, with all the like it's 60 channels or something. That'd be nuts. That's a real piece of dream gear. I don't think I'll ever get that. Other stuff I could maybe reach in a lifetime, but not with those. So dreamy.
Those are great picks.
You're great.
Thanks.
While we're on the topic of gear, I want to ask, there's a picture on, I think, the Chives Instagram of you, Loren, with, is it a bass or a guitar? It almost looks like a Fender, but you're sitting there like on a couch with like a bunch of amps and a bunch of guitars. What's the one in your hands?
I guess that could qualify as some dream gear. That is a St. George 6-string bass, so like a bass 6, similar to the Fender bass 6. But St. George is just like a stencil brand of Taisco. I think that's how you pronounce it. A Japanese guitar brand. They're super freaking rare. I have no idea how I was so lucky to get it. Some dude on OfferUp Let Go before OfferUp, but bought Let Go. He had it listed like down the street from me. I like spammed him like 20 messages. I'm like, I'm on my way. I'm just driving in your general area. I'm like, where are you? I got cash and picked it up. We haven't used it on anything, and it doesn't particularly sound that great, but it looks sweet.
What are there's like switches on it that almost look like a drum machine switch. What do all those do?
Those are the pickup selectors, so you can do neck, middle, or bridge. And then there's a low, high pass or low pass. High pass. Only the highs can pass through, so you can get like a little less output, but less bassiness from it.
Wow, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
How much did you get that for?
The bargain price of $150. I found there's like one picture on the internet of a Reverb listing, I think, for like $1,400. So that's why I was so stressed when I was trying to like drive over and get it, because I knew I'd never see one again for that cheap.
Just to kind of switch back gears a little bit, I was wondering how you guys all met and formed, because you were mentioning some of the bandmates were in high school together, and you guys, so.
Yeah, maybe Lauren, you tell how you met all the guys, and then I can see where I came in.
Sure. I met Paul in math class in like 7th or 8th grade, and we both had similar personalities, kind of like class clowns, so we got along together, and stayed really close throughout high school. And I think freshman or sophomore year of high school, Joey transferred schools against his will and transferred into our high school, and we made friends. And he lived down the street and had a band room, so we started playing music together. And then I'll switch off to Nick. Nick and I met in college.
Yeah, so we were, was the first class that music class, Lauren? I forget.
Music theory, like 101.
Yeah, yeah, we were at Santa Ana College, music theory 101. And Yeah, in walked this guy with the skinny jeans and a deep V, and I was like, this guy could be my friend. So, but yeah, I'm pretty sure we didn't talk for a couple weeks, and then for some reason, I was like, I'm gonna go talk to him. I need him. I did, like I said, I didn't have any friends that played music. I just played at home. That's probably why my songs kind of sound like I wrote them just like in my bedroom, because that's all I knew for a long time. I didn't know how to write in a band. So yeah, I finally had the nerve to be like, hey, what up? Let's do something.
You mentioned right there that you kind of had to switch your songwriting to fit more of a band as opposed to just you writing in your bedroom. What kind of switch was that? Like, what do you mean by that?
I think a lot of it is confidence. That was like the biggest switch. For me, it was just like, these are songs that I play in my room. And then like in San Francisco, I don't think I ever played them to my roommates. So literally it was just for me. And then when I lived at home, like maybe I played them to like my siblings or my parents. But again, those were like pretty weak songs at that point. So yeah, I think the biggest switch was like having the confidence to show the band. Again, I was pretty intimidated by the guys too, because they go back, they play in bands together. Like I didn't have any friends that played in bands at that point. They knew how to record, they knew how to do everything. So it's just like, okay, where do I fit in on this? But yeah, they all made it super easy for me to feel confident with it. So and like to stick to my style, like I don't do a lot of chord changes. It's just like I said earlier, it's really about dynamics, and that's what the music I like, and they made me feel comfortable doing that. So eventually confidence built, and it just became but
So this is like a segment we're working on. So it is so we might cut this one out, but unless you guys have a good answer. No. But if you guys could perform with any person, living or deceased, in the universe, who would you choose?
So before you start, the segment's called "Who You Want to Jam With," and the music that's going to play right now is supposed to be done by the band Wayward. They're providing the music for us. So okay. Shout out Wayward. Segment is called "Who You Want to Jam With." Cue the music.
Perfect. Loren, you go first, because I got to think about this.
Oh, I don't even have to think. It just comes straight to mind. Whenever like the song I think of is, now that I'm under pressure, I can't think of the name of the song, but I would want to jam with Jackson Browne. What's that song?
Take It Easy?
No.
Running on Empty?
Running on Empty.
That's a hit. We're harking back. We're harking back to my influences.
I know. I always like hear that when they do the last part of the song, and it's like the stop, and it's the drums like do 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 do, and then they have the slide guitar solo. It just gives me chills every time. I'm like, that would be like, you have this huge stadium show, everyone's there, and you do one last song. You're like, we're doing a cover. Jackson Browne comes on, you're rocking. I envision myself playing every instrument, bass, guitar, singing it, and playing drums. That's like the ultimate jam. Would probably be that song.
Damn, that's a good one.
Beat that, dude.
I can't. But the first person, yeah, this is not. I'm gonna change this answer probably like right after we get off this call. But the person I'm thinking of is Phoebe Bridgers' guitarist. I think his vibe really fits, and Loren tried doing it, and I think succeeded at it on Think Too Much. But I forget his name. Loren, you might know it. Harrison. I don't know his last name.
It's Harrison.
Yeah, I don't know his last name, but Harrison.
His Instagram handle was Scarrison Ford, but I don't know his real.
I don't think his name is Harrison Ford.
No,
but yeah,
I think it's still Scarrison.
I think just the way he plays. I think if it was for like Chives music too, I think it would fit perfectly. He's like not really playing like crazy riffs or anything. He's just like all about the vibe, and he does that really well. So would love to jam with him.
Whitford.
That sounds right. Yep. So it's not Ford. Ford is not involved in there.
Yes, Scarrison Whitford.
Nice.
Scarrison Whitford. Yeah, there it is.
Great. Yeah, Harrison Whitford is my choice.
Yeah, he's a killer guitar player.
Nice. I've got one more question. James, you might have more, but what's next for Chives?
I I mean, we have like 4 demos. So we have like 4 more demos. So I think we were originally thinking like an EP, but I'm kind of into like the single thing. I kind of like building the hype around singles and like working and crafting them. So like the album was like 7 straight songs that we like kind of worked through, but I'm really enjoying like building step by step for these songs and taking our time. So yeah, I don't want to put time pressure on us. So I'd be happy to release like 3 or 4 more singles maybe in the next couple months. Also want to work on like video content, like music videos, or I know live shows are kind of coming back. I'm not sure what that might look like in the next few months, but I've always wanted to record like our equivalent of like Audio Tree. I would love to do that like in Paul's garage, and just have us all mic'd up and just do like a live set and release that. Would be as YouTube, as like video content. I think that'd be like super cool. So that's like a long-term goal.
Nice. Well, thank you guys for coming on to the Backyard Show Indoor Edition.
Nice.
Bow, 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 bow. Those are the DJ air horns.
See you guys.
No, thanks for having us. Thanks for having us, guys.
Again, you can listen to Chives wherever you stream music, and check out the playlists that they curated just for you at our website, www.thebackyardshowpodcast.com. And as always, thank you for listening.